Hello, and welcome to our first WTV News Show of 2019. I'm Joshua Saunders.
And I'm Jennifer Kirkshank. Thank you for joining us.
We have a great show coming up today with lots of interesting stories.
From a protest turning tense, the children learning coding, as well as our segment, Better Halifax.
We're excited to share these stories with you. But first, to the news with Brooklyn Curry.
Thank you, Joshua and Jen. A group called Food Against Fascism organized a counter-demo against the Canadian Yellow Vests Saturday. WTV's Clara Nishida was there. She joins us now live with more details. Clara?
The protest was originally set to take place in Halifax near City Hall, but it got changed last minute to Dartmouth near the MacDonald Bridge. When WTV's crew arrived in Dartmouth at 11 a.m., only a small group of Food Against Fascism protesters and one yellow vest were present. After about an hour, our crew was informed that there was a second group waiting at the Halifax location where the protest was initially set to happen. So we headed over there. The Yellow Vests movement originated in France, motivated by rising fuel prices, high cost of living, and government tax reforms. The Food Against Fascism protesters say the Canadian Yellow Vests have fascist and racist ideals and are anti-immigration.
We're here to show solidarity with refugees and migrants against the Yellow Vest Movement Canada, which is a co-option of the Yellow Vest movement that is going on in France and elsewhere in Europe. It has been co-opted largely by the far right to push an anti-immigrant, anti-refugee, Islamophobic and pro-oil agenda.
During the demonstration, several vehicles drove by honking, showing support for those against the Yellow Vests. After about an hour, the small group moved to the Halifax side, where about 20 people were waiting. Among them, 4 Yellow Vests. The conflict between the two groups was evident during the demonstration. There were several moments of violence between the two groups and interference with WTV's crew. In our attempts to speak with the Yellow Vests, we were interrupted by counter-protesters several times.
I'm not going to bother with the interview any further because he's just going to harass through the whole thing. So it's quite obvious that we don't have ability to speak because they're constantly trying to stop us.
These demonstrations against the Yellow Vests have been happening for the past couple of Saturdays. And on the Food Against Fascism Facebook page, they are set to happen every Saturday until February 16th. In Brooklyn, similar protests and counter-protests have been taking place across the country. Back to you.
Thank you, Clara. A new booklet is going to help Arabic-speaking newcomers better understand autism and people with autism. It'll be shared with the YMCA and Immigrant Services Association of Nova Scotia. The booklet is the brainchild of Melissa Myers. She says it was developed with answers to questions they received from families.
There are some communication strategies that, people can use when we're supporting someone with autism.
The booklet gives suggestions on how to more easily communicate with people with autism. Myers says Autism Nova Scotia has been working with Arabic language newcomers for a few years.
When we're working with them and trying to explain to them what autism is, that can be a very difficult concept for anybody.
The booklet will be available for download on Autism Nova Scotia's website. In an email statement to WTV News, iSANS called the booklet an excellent example of the dedication that goes into adapting to the needs of the community. And international students at Nova Scotia Community College are getting support a little closer to home these days. A new student services advisor has been hired to help international students here at the Ivany campus. Previously, students had to phone the international office at the IT campus if they had questions about specific international student services and supports.
It's fantastic to be able to speak face-to-face with students or through Skype, but to know that you have a go-to contact for those types of challenges, for those types of questions, I think is really going to help support the international students all across the province.
The advisor can help international students with insurance or policy questions and anything else a regular student services advisor offers. Duggan says he's not able to give advice on things like immigration or permits, but he can connect students to NSCC's registered immigration consultant. There are close to 700 international students across all NSCC campuses, with more than 300 at the Ivany campus. 2 more NSCC International Student Advisors have been appointed across the province. One works with Akerley and IT campuses, the other is based out of Truro. And in other college news, the Gender and Sexuality Alliance is coming back to Ivany campus. PR student Jordan Parker is the group's new coordinator. The group fell by the wayside last June when the previous coordinators graduated their programs.
For me, I guess my #1 mandate this year, if I do nothing else, is to get it started and find someone who's going to take it over.
Parker has been working with the Student Association to finalize a budget for the year. He worked with a fellow PR student to update the logo and create new posters.
We're working on resources around consent and HIV and knowing your status and a ton of other things around education and sexual education.
The GSA is a safe space that welcomes all students of any background or orientation. Their first meeting is at 4:30 this afternoon in the Student Association boardroom. And that's it for the news desk. Back to you, Jen and Joshua.
Thanks, Brooklyn. It's time for a quick break.
But coming up, we'll ask students what mental health means to them.
We'll also introduce you to 3 friends who have embraced the cold weather for a great cause.
Don't go anywhere.
Welcome back. For Wellness Week at NSCC, students had the chance to de-stress.
Yeah, Jen, don't you really like bowling?
Actually, it's right up my alley.
I heard you had the chance to check out a local museum in Trouble.
I did, Josh, and learned about how the only firefighting museum in Halifax County is struggling to remain open. Take a look. The Regional Firefighters Interpretation Center in Fall River is struggling to remain open. The center preserves firefighting history and restores old vehicles. Don Snyder is a local retired firefighter and a member of the museum. He says financially it's becoming hard to keep open.
It's been a bit of a problem for us. We don't have any major sources of income, so we just have to do fundraising.
The museum holds the only collection of firefighting artifacts and equipment dedicated to the Halifax Regional Municipality. But due to rising costs of rent and utilities, now at about $6,000 a year, and only about 150 visitors annually, the center is in danger of closing. President of the museum, David Stogworth, says it's harder now to keep the history of firefighting alive.
But it's getting harder, like our members are all getting older. And we're trying to get some younger people involved in it, and it's awfully hard.
Visitors can find stories in the museum like a vintage fire truck from the 1950s, driven here from Ontario, as well as photos from the Hammonds Plains Fire Department, the first department with all black members. The center is usually open from May to October on the weekend, and private tours can be done year-round. Entry to the museum is by donation. Snyder says there are so many stories to be told in the center.
We'd like to see it continue. I mean, after all, it is the start of the first fire department in Canada, so it should be kept going.
Anyone who wants to help the center stay open are asked to visit the website for a link to their GoFundMe page. Jennifer Kirkshank, WTV News, Fall River.
Great story, Jen.
Thank you. It was a great learning experience. So Josh, do you ever get the winter blues?
Yeah, sometimes. You know, this time of year, students across the country are facing bigger challenges with their mental health.
WTV's Nathan Jordan talked to people on campus about their experiences during the winter months.
Students at NSCC are coming out to support one another during Wellness Week by participating in fun activities to break up the monotony of the winter months. NSCC councillor Lorraine Godden-Keating says the winter blues are a seasonal dip in energy levels closely associated with the ebb and flow of students' academic calendars.
We can typically predict that come end of January, February, a lot of our population is going to be feeling low and out of energy. And I think some of it is fairly understandable in that there's a lot of energy put out in the first term, adjusting to college, trying to get everything organized, managing finances, all those pieces.
I spoke to students around Ivany campus to get their opinions of mental health on campus.
You want to have support available, especially being a student. A lot of stressful times come about, so you just want to be able to have that support and have a lot of friends and family, and you know, not keep it inside, because you can never really tell what's going on in someone's head.
I think mental health support is as crucial as it is neglected. Everyone needs help, and most people are too afraid to actually communicate that they need help.
I think it's especially important for a student because we're going through a lot right now, trying to figure out what we want to do in the future and what we're doing right now.
Joshua Tynes, president of the Ivany Campus Student Association, says that the services offered by the association seek to ease the burdens of student life and help students stay on top of their obligations in the hopes that it will promote mental health and wellness on campus.
Here on campus, we see that mental health stems from a buildup of stress. So although we are not health professionals and we can't deal with that directly, in a non-direct way we can help meet students' needs to try and take some of the stress out of their life.
Nathan Jordan, WTV News, Dartmouth.
Thanks, Nathan. Mental health is very important as a student. People should reach out to the many services on campus for help.
Talking about mental health, it's been really cold out there this past week.
That's right, but I've been following 3 brave young men running to the ocean and nearby lakes every single day for a great cause. Check it out.
And I mean, there's 2 parts to it. Raise awareness for mental health, help end the stigma, and then raise $10,000 for Phoenix youth.
3 local childhood friends, Coco McNeil, Sid Frazier, and Mitchell Hippern, have vowed to jump into freezing cold water every day this month. Every Saturday, they've met at Black Rock Beach to do a group jump to help promote the initiative. The gentlemen think the Polar Dip Challenge is the best way to start your day. They have chosen to donate the money raised to the Phoenix Drop-In Center and their youth and family therapy program.
There's a lot of thought and intention that goes into the work that we do, and that includes, so when money comes in, we know that we need to make sure that it's directed to be as impactful and direct as possible.
They are motivated by their own experiences and see the need to make talking about mental health a positive conversation. This initiative has just raised over its original goal of $10,000, and the 3 friends hope the hashtag Dip for Mental Health lives on, and the campaign continues after the month of January.
The Dip for Mental Health doesn't end on the 31st. I'm hoping that other people go out and do their own polar dips, share their own story related to mental health, and use the hashtag Dip for Mental Health, so that can spread to other people. If mental health is close to your heart and you feel that you have a story or a fact or information that could possibly benefit people who are also struggling, I hope this is a good platform for people to be able to talk about that.
Wow, I'd like to try that one day.
Yeah, unfortunately today is their last jump, but like they said, you can do it on your own.
This past weekend, Canada Learn and Code hosted a workshop for kids and their parents to learn about the basics of coding.
That's right, WTV's Alex Lynch went there to check it out.
Christopher Kolmatiki has been a co-leader at Canada Learn and Code for 3 years and says that while these events are a great learning experience, it's also a great opportunity for kids and parents to bond.
There was a father and son pair that kind of really warmed the cockles of my heart because you had this father seeing this, his 8-year-old kid learning to and actually coding a web page, and the parent was clearly surprised that something that he used on an everyday basis was being built by his 8-year-old son.
During the 3-hour workshop, kids and their parents had the opportunity to create their own games and present them to the rest of the class. Samuel Kiragu attended the workshop with his 2 kids, David and Hannah. All 3 of them left feeling inspired.
It's actually very interesting, a bit challenging, but it's very interesting, and I'd like to get involved in more of these technology groups.
I'm trying to learn JavaScript at the moment, and my dream job is a pilot, so you have to know all these, programming, everything here and there.
As for me, it was very eye-opening. This is the first time I've seen how coding is normally done, and these guys, they did very well. Actually, they were teaching me how it's done, and actually I can see a lot of opportunities in the coding in future.
These workshops take place 3 times a month and have been going since 2013. The program has been growing since its beginnings, and they hope to see more in 2019. For WTV, I'm Alex Lynch.
Thanks, Alex.
Coming up after the break, we'll find out more about coding in this week's Better Halifax. We also have this.
Hi, I'm Matt Kennedy, and I'm a host here at CCKC. Stay tuned after the break, because on this week's episode of Between Two Bridges, I got to talk with Amy Vintage of the band Vulvaculture. We talked about how she got started in music and what influences her to write. We'll be right back.
welcome back.
It's looking a little chilly out there today.
Sure does. Maybe I'll hold off on that polar dip. But now it's time for our Better Halifax segment.
We profiled Lindsay McMullen, a female coder empowering others to learn the craft. Check it out.
My goal is to address the notion that you can't be what you can't see. I want to bring light to women in technology and all the possibilities for young girls out there. So prior to joining IBM and starting my career in technology, I was a photographer and a freelance designer, and having this following, I was sitting there and thinking, how can I use my platform to somehow use it for the good? I joined Canada Learning Code actually as a learner and worked my way up to being a mentor and worked my way up to being an instructor, and now I'm lucky to be called one of the chapter leads here in Halifax. So women bring a lot to tech companies, whether it be different skill sets or perspective. It's actually known that tech companies perform better and more successful if there are more women. So you should never be intimidated when you're in a room full of men, ever. We offer hands-on computer science education at a beginner level, and we have an awesome community of learners and instructors and mentors who are willing to help. So every workshop is different. We offer classes in learning HTML and CSS. The next workshop we have is geared towards kids ages 9 to 12, and it is very beginner fundamentals of programming. And the beautiful thing about our workshops, especially for kids, is that they bring their parent or guardian along with them. So they're able to share in the experience together and create something and be able to show the final product to their peers and to present it. So I taught a class on graphic design, just the fundamentals and the basics behind it, very entry level to kids ages 9 to 12, and it was amazing to see the interest there and them whispering to their parents, ooh, like maybe I'll be a graphic designer like her one day. So that for me was amazing to watch and to see the spark of interest in their eyes of maybe pursuing a career in technology or design one day. I am Lindsay McMullen, and I am trying to help people old and young realize their potential through technology. And that is how I'm making a better Halifax.
Great profile. It's always nice seeing people and the way they are making the city a better place. And now we have someone who is trying to make a difference with her music. RTJ student, radio student, Matt Kennedy sat down with Amy Vintage this week on Between Two Bridges.
Don't give me a grave, monuments you can save them, reserving them for those deserving them don't.
How did you first get started in music?
My first musical memory is in the car with my dad listening to the Dirty Dancing soundtrack.
Fantastic.
And being in love with that. And then also just listening to my mom would harmonize with every single song on the radio. And she's got this beautiful soprano voice. And so I just kind of started singing along.
Don't try to open my eyes anymore.
I know you mentioned that your parents were a big influence on you and your taste in music.
Yeah.
But in terms of your writing, what kind of influences other than just music? Because I think people who write music don't just draw from other music.
100%.
Yeah. So what other influences would you say you have in your writing?
If I'm in a really happy period or just kind of a meh sort of time and I'm really wanting to write and I can't think of anything, I need to mine really deep into my brain and try and find some kind of traumatic or dramatic event.
Don't wake me, I
That's great. You can check out the whole podcast on CCKC's website at 10 p.m. Friday night.
That's right. So Jen, what are you having for supper?
I was thinking of having potatoes and a big steak, but the release of the new Canada Food Guide has made me trying to get my proteins from other sources.
That's right. The new food guide is the topic of this week's hashtag trending.
Hello and welcome to Hashtag Trending. I'm your host Elise Whitman, and today's topic is the updated Canada Food Guide. Meat and dairy are taking a backseat in your stomach to fruits and veggies, which are now meant to account for at least half of every meal in your home. Hear what some people had to say about these changes. Monica Yerbansky says, I feel like it's super nerdy to be excited about the upcoming food guide for Canada, but for the first time, the food industry appears to not have a seat at the table, and the committee is actually considering emerging research versus status quo. How bold! Carol Harrison points out that plant proteins are emphasized in the updated guide, opposing traditional animal protein sources. Canada Food Guide prominently displays animal and plant protein, recognizing both as nutrient-rich choices. Take home is to choose a variety because nutrition packages of beans, milk, fish, eggs, nut, and beef are also different. What to cut back on? Ultra-processed food. United Way Halifax, in a tweet quoting a Globe and Mail article, argues that this new diet isn't accessible to all Canadians. Healthy eating, as it is proposed in Canada's Food Guide, is a privilege of wealth. The symbolic fruity, nutty, grainy plate is actually out of reach for many who struggle with poverty, food insecurity, and health illiteracy. Since food security is a problem for Canadians, it may take some time before this diet is the norm in Canada. But I know, I'm hungry just thinking about it. For Hashtag Trending, I'm Elise Whitman. Back to you, Josh and Jen.
Thank you, Elise. And that's our show.
From everyone here at WTV, we thank you for joining us.
We have 3 more weeks of great stories coming up. Tune in every Thursday on Facebook at 2 p.m. for our live show and 7 p.m. on Eastlink TV.
Check out our social media for a peek behind the scenes.
Till next week.